Hello and welcome to Sarcastic Videos. Today we're going to be talking about the Netflix original comedy special, Maria Bamford Old Baby. And this one is pretty interesting. I've never seen Maria Bamford before, but she has a different way of doing things, that's for sure. Like, she does a lot of jokes that are like mimicking voices, and she does a lot of ad-libs, or not ad-libs, but skits. They're like mini skits. Something you would see like Tracy Ullman used to do, where she would play all these different parts. Or something Dana Carvey does too in his comedy specials, where he's doing all these different voices, pretending to be an old man, pretending to be an old woman, doing an imitation of his wife or his mom. Same thing with this, with Maria Bamford. She does this, but in the beginning she does it to an extreme level, to the point where it almost gets really annoying. And it could just be me. That's not my type of humor. I don't like all the different voices. It's kind of like watching Master of Disguise with Dana Carvey, when he was doing all those different voices, and it got annoying throughout the movie. So you imagine going to a special where you're seeing one person do that, only without costumes or other actors to work off of. It's interesting, but it's not the kind of humor that I like, and it's really awkward, to be honest. To start with, she's telling jokes in like all these different settings. It's the same set, but in different settings. So she'll tell the same jokes, not repeated, but you can tell that she's saying those jokes too in all the different settings. So she does herself in her mirror, to someone who I guess is her husband. She never introduces him. Then like a crowd on a bus bench, a house full of people, a bookstore, a bowling alley, and eventually like an actual club. And she doesn't get to the club until later in the special, and that is when it actually starts to get funny, because she tones down the weird awkward parts, like the weird jokes and like the voices and the imitations and things like that, which to me just were not entertaining at all, really. It's mostly mannerisms and trying to like just instantly shifting into this old lady voice that isn't that different from her regular voice, so it almost sounds like she's doing herself as an old lady, not somebody else. It's hard to explain. It's mostly distracting than anything else. And she makes a lot of faces, and like when she pretends to be an old lady, she's got these different expressions on her face that it makes the whole thing distracting. Anyways, but she does jokes. They're mostly, when you can get around the distractions, they're funny. In the beginning, it's kind of slow, and I think that was just being distracted by all the weirdness, to be honest. She talks about dating as an older person in her 40s, getting married and dealing with that kind of relationship again as an older person, and having to go to counseling. She makes a lot of jokes about her counselor and things like that, and it's weird. She's got like a song she makes up and things like that. It's just odd. And then she jokes about like her parents. She has an impression of her mom and dad that it just seems like it should be in a skit show. Like it's something that you would see on Saturday Night Live, or something smaller like Kids in the Hall, only if one person played all the parts. That's kind of what it looks like, and only because there's no setting, there's no scenery, there's no costumes, it just seems odd. Otherwise, it would probably be pretty funny. If they did it like the Tracy Ullman show. But during the middle, like it's an hour and 10 minutes, and during the middle, that's when she mostly does her show out of an actual comedy club and with a larger crowd. And that's when she kind of tones down with the voices, and she still does it. But I don't know what it is about the way something she changes maybe it's just her energy or the just less of the weirdness, but in the second half of the show it's actually more funny than anything else. It's less distracting. It's and it is entertaining. So if you can get through the part at the beginning, I mean, it does get better. She jokes about herself letting herself go. She jokes about being on a plane with somebody, complaining about having PTSD from a bad comedian and how she lied about being a comedian and said she was a bookkeeper instead and things like that. She apparently had a stint in a mental facility, and she makes fun of that and how hard it was. She couldn't work because of the meds and how hard it was to come back. And there was a funny bit about a comedian who was telling her to be on the lookout for somebody stealing his bit, and then his bit was actually peekaboo. So she was on the lookout for somebody stealing peekaboo as their comedy bit. So that was kind of funny. But yeah, at the end, it does get better. She talks a bit about show business. She talks about, living in a small town, going to self-help seminars with her husband and how completely unfun they are. And she does do some awkward things with the crowd at the comedy club. It's odd because the other crowds, like the one where she was in the house or the one where she was at the bowling alley, she had more access to the crowd. She could have just walked up and started doing something, but she chose to do it at the end where she was in the big comedy club, and it was more awkward, and it's deliberate. Like she makes sure you know that it was deliberate, that she wanted to make everybody feel a little bit awkward, just like she feels at times. So there was some humor there, and it was funny. It's really hard to recommend or not recommend because it depends on what kind of things you like. Like if you do like that Tracy Ullman or Dana Carvey kind of humor where one person is doing all these different jokes as different people, they're doing like little mini skits, that's what it's like. And she even acknowledges during the show that it's kind of like a one-woman show, and that she just wanted, she kind of tones it down and then goes into the jokes after that. But you can tell that that's what she wants to do. She wants to do voices. She wants to do little skits about her family and about other people and, old people, her husband and things like that. She just wants to do all these voices and skits. And it depends on whether or not you like it or not. For me personally, I'm not a big fan of that kind of jokes. Those kind of jokes, it doesn't do it for me. I'd rather see a comedian just tell jokes rather than do all those weird voices and try and completely change their face to imitate somebody else who we don't even know who they are. Like we don't know how Maria's mother acts, so when she does an imitation, it could be spot on or it could be completely different. We don't know. So why do an imitation? Like it just seems odd to me. But if you like that kind of humor, then it's a good show to watch. So for me personally, I'm going to give it a thumbs down on Netflix. And out of 10, I would rate it a 5 out of 10. So, but again, if you like that kind of show, you could probably get past the weirdness that affected me enjoying the show and like it. That is the Netflix original comedy special, Maria Bamford, Old Baby. So if you like this video, like, share, subscribe, or all of the above. Thank you, and have a nice day.